journey of an Akoya pearl, but this time to Vietnam. I'm super excited. This is my second pearl business trip. Well, third. I went to Japan and Tahiti last year and now to Vietnam. Also, I'm wearing a cap and you'll be seeing me wear a cap throughout this vlog because I have a severe peeling situation on my forehead. So I got invited to Vietnam by my pearl supplier to one of their farms in the south of Vietnam. So it's in Nha Trang. Most of the pearl farms in Vietnam are actually in the north. Most people might know Ha Long Bay. So I'd actually really like to go there too. But we went to the south because that's also where these pearls are found. Can you see the luster on that? And the really nice gold color? Basically, I make sure it's sourced directly from the source, meaning that because I'm buying a lot of pearls and I want to give my clients the best possible options and prices and quality because I'm so passionate. And once you understand them and you see the best, you really can't go back. Like I'm now, what's the word? I always forget and I keep saying this in my lives. You know when you're kind of, you've seen the best and you can't go back. I have built a very good connection with my supplier so that I can always see the best that they have, the new strands that they have, and luckily they are based in Thailand. So I'm able to visit them quite regularly to see the new harvest. So one day I did ask them, can I go to your farm? And they said, sure, we're bringing along like a couple of our bigger clients, so you can come along with us. They sent me my ticket and off we went to Vietnam. I've made plenty of reels about this, but if you don't know, here's a little summary. So we have natural pearls. You can only use the term natural when it comes to formed without human intervention. Then you have cultured pearls, and under cultured pearls, it's divided into two sections as well. And we have saltwater cultured and freshwater cultured. I focus on saltwater pearls. So we have Akoya, South Sea, and Tahitian. Those are your three types of saltwater cultured pearls. And we are going to an Akoya pearl farm. So Akoya pearls are typically from Japan, and these are Japanese Akoya oysters, but they are being cultured in Vietnam. It is similar water conditions, but still different enough for it to create different pearls in the sense of color and luster. Of all the pearl farms I had been to, this one is the only one that they grow their own oysters as well. So most of the time they buy them from an oyster grower. So there's separate companies or families that grow oysters, and then they supply them to the pearl cultures. So the reason these pearls are of such high quality, luster, and color is because they control every part of the process. So they select specific species of Akoya oyster and they crossbreed.
If we use the one family, the oysters get weaker and weaker. If you keep repeating within the family, you have to crossbreed with another family, then the oysters become a little stronger and better.
They keep them in a controlled environment for this first stage of their life. During that stage, they have to feed them specific sizes of plankton with specific nutrients. So this was also very exciting for me. Basically, they grow their own plankton as well because plankton is what the oysters eat. But they need to make sure that the plankton is also of a very specific and high quality of nutrients so that the oysters grow healthy and big. They had an issue once because the plankton stuck together, and these are microscopic. They fed it to the oysters and the whole harvest died because they didn't realize that the pieces of plankton were too big for the oysters at that time of their growth stage. So then they look at all the plankton they give at every stage of the growth before they put them out into the ocean so that they grow healthy and strong. And then they put them out into the ocean for them to keep growing in nature. For oyster growth, you don't only need strong, healthy oysters to grow the pearls. The mantle tissue is actually what determines the color of your pearl. So it's not going to be 100%, but it is one of the main controlling factors of what the outcome is.
You see the mantle?
How do you know from these shells? Do you see it on the color of the mantle or on the color of the shell?
The color depends on the shell. See this shining color over here? This is a nice pinkish tone.
So you hope it will have a pinkish tone?
Yeah.
So grafting. When they take the oysters out of the ocean, they are put under sedation. So they're put into like a bath where they naturally open slightly. So they sedate, put them under anesthetic, and then wedge a cork into it so that they're slightly wedged open and kept open for the grafter. This is a very precise operation where some of the oysters, as I said, the younger oysters, are opened up, or they're not used for grafting or harvesting any pearls, but they are used for the important task of donating their mantle tissue. Tiny, tiny pieces of this. You have to be so precise because if you use a tiny bit too much, you can take a darker piece and then you completely ruin the harvest. They make a tiny incision in the gonad and they insert a bead nucleus and a piece of the mantle tissue. In this farm, they were actually planting 4 pearls per oyster, which is wild considering you see how small the oysters are. I tried grafting once in one of the farms I went into Japan. It was such a struggle. Donor oysters will not be used for harvesting. They're just opened up. Do oysters get killed in the process of the pearl growth? Yes, they do, but oysters don't actually have feelings. They don't. It's scientific. Because oysters don't have a brain or central nervous system, they don't have the capacity to feel pain. So when they are killed in the process of pearl harvesting, whether they're a donor or a grafted oyster, which will eventually also die, they don't suffer. And to put you even more at ease, every part of the oyster is used afterwards. The shell is used, the meat is used, the muscle is used, and then the pearl, if they create a pearl, is also used. So depending on the species, like I said, the South Sea, Akoya, and Tahitian, they all are grafted the same way in the sense of that there is a bead nucleus and mantle tissue inserted, but some oysters have the capacity to hold more and some less. So some people actually only graft 1 pearl at a time, and sometimes you can fit multiple. Especially when it comes to fresh water, you can graft up to like 20 beads at the same time, which is wild. Once grafted, they close up the oyster and then they put them in these nets back into the ocean. But they have to be taken out like once every 2 weeks to be cleaned because any excess barnacles or diseases that can stick onto the oyster will obviously affect the growth of a pearl inside. They have to keep checking up on the oysters for a period of 6 months to 2 years. Even though they've gone through the meticulous task of grafting every single oyster, not every single oyster will have actually produced a pearl. People think, oh, it's culture. It's still rare to get a beautiful pearl. Several things can happen. The oyster can have completely rejected the nucleus, in which case you actually have no idea until you harvest it 6 to 12 months later. In case of Akoya pearls, Akoya oysters are so small that you can't re-harvest. Like for instance, with Tahitians, in the farm I went to in Tahiti, some of the healthier oysters were regrafted for the second time and put back into the ocean. But that's also a rare healthy case. The Akoya pearls, they're opened up to harvest. And as you can see here, I got the special task and was able to do it myself. Let's get to work. We're going to go open some shells now. Very exciting. The very first time I opened a shell was in Japan on my first day of the Japan pearl trip. I posted a video on Instagram and not everyone, I got a lot of haters in the comment section saying that I had planted the pearl because there was a drill hole, when in fact it comes from this. So obviously there's going to be shell pieces or barnacle pieces on the pearl when you first take it out, if it's on your hands, like look. So yeah, I didn't even realize that was a thing. Naive old me. Apparently it is a big popular thing that people do in China, especially they open the oysters, they plant in a pearl, and then they ship them worldwide for pearl popping parties. That is not what I do because I'm the journey of a gem, so I'm here to bring you to the reality of the gem business. So different to the ones I opened in Japan. In Japan, it was very easy to find the one pearl and pop it out. And also in Tahiti, I had so much fun pearl popping because they were like bigger 7mm plus. But now they're so tiny, like 2mm, 3mm pearls. So finding them, and especially finding 4, and most likely they're not all 4 are still inside. Either the oyster rejected it, or it turned out to be like a bit deformed, or there's not much nacre. So the likelihood of a beautiful pearl inside your oyster is maybe like 50%. I found one. This is my harvest of the day. This was very cool because they had a very big production, which also the Japanese client commented on because he's familiar with the pearl farms in Japan that I had also visited. They're obviously all family run, very small operations. Here it was like a huge team and they had a lot more steps they were doing, which was like very interesting.
Small company, so family company. But here, so this farm is over 200 people. So big difference, big scale.
Basically, the women were opening it up, and then instead of trying to find the pearls like I was doing, which would take way too long, they were scraping out the meats, they are separating the meat, then they're separating the muscle and separating the shell. The shell is sold for production for jewelry, cutlery, bowls. The meat is given to the fish and the muscle is sold to the local market for eating. I actually tried Akoya oyster muscle for the first time and it was actually okay. They put all of the oyster meat into this type of tumbler, which kind of emulsifies the oyster meat, and then it extracts the pearls through like the density, and the pearls drop out and then they're washed as well, and then you have the pearls. With the rest of the meat, because you still have the keshies, they're washed again because of specific gravity. The keshi pearls, which are an accidental byproduct of the pearl harvesting process, sink to the bottom, and then they have keshis. That's it. That's everything I saw at the farm. There are more steps to pearl processing, like grading, etc., but we'll talk about that in another video. You know, this is a little motivational speech for my little female followers. Sometimes you just need to like keep being yourself and be adamant and do not be afraid to ask questions and to like just put your foot in the door. Like I asked multiple times, can I be invited to your pearl farm? And then I got invited to the pearl farm, you know? If you don't ask, the answer is automatically no. Hope you enjoyed this vlog, and if you want to know more about pearls, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.